Join us each week for some booze-free banter about life without booze.
If you're entertaining the idea of cutting back your booze by a day, a week, a month, or for the rest of your life, we would love for you to tune in.
Buckle up and come along for a ride that may just change your life. Just a heads up, some of our conversations we have may be triggering for some. Reach out to your local resource support centre. If you're in Australia, that's Lifeline 131114. Psst, hey Maso.
Psst, hey Breeza.
Did you know that our partner Altina is made differently to other non-alcoholic wines?
I did not know this.
Most are made from non-alcoholized wine with concentrated grape juice added. Altina is built from botanicals and contains no added sugar.
No way, Jose. Yes, Altina.
Yes. And I'm actually drinking the Light Me Up today, straight from the can. I'm like licking it from the can.
And I'm on the Latin Rosé. I've got a proper cup.
Yes, it's very nice. Is that a crystal? It looks very crystally.
Actually from Grey's Girl, but I'll tell you about that.
Oh, nice. So you're not necking it from the bottle. You've gone all classy.
I know, classy. It would only last for like 5 seconds, so the class.
Thank you, Altina.
Thanks, Altina. You. We do.
Maso.
Breeza.
We really get into that, don't we?
Yeah, we're really with gusto.
Oh, how are you? We've got a guest on, haven't we?
We do. We really do. And she's such a surprise packet. Wow. She actually slid into our DMs.
She did. And it all sort of just came about, didn't it? Like this
very
all
quickly.
Happened within the last 5 days, pretty much.
Rapid fire.
Who is it? Tell us who it is, Maso.
It is Hayley Vernon.
Hayley Vernon was on MAFS in 2020. You would remember her. She's an unforgettable kind of character, isn't she, Maso?
Yeah, she really is. Real firecracker.
Firecracker. And our chat with her, wowee, another just mind-blowing chat. She gave so much to us.
Didn't she? I could have listened to her all day. I was so surprised. I think there's a bit of a misconception about Hayley, and I think she knows that too, don't you think?
Especially given how she was portrayed on MAFS.
Yeah, 100%.
She does talk about it in the potty, but she really has had to rebuild her image, her everything.
Yeah, and she's done it like an absolute boss. Like, everything that she was talking about, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Like,
and she's an absolute go-getter, and her enthusiasm and fire in her belly is super infectious. And she's off the gas.
She's off the gas, yes, and she's just as pumped and excited as we are about it too. Yeah,
she's really up and about.
Yeah, and I love how, like, at the end you'll hear her reach out and offer support for people that may have been experienced what she's been through, which is incredibly generous. Like, yep. So yeah, we're your biggest, newest fans, Hayley.
We are. Now, we will just give everyone a bit of a trigger warning in our chat with Hayley. There is discussion around addiction and also suicide.
Yeah.
But just a bit of a heads up there, guys.
Yes, but here we are. Hayley.
Let's get amongst it. A big warm welcome to Hayley Vernon. Welcome, Hayley.
Hey, girls. How you going?
Welcome, Hayley. So good. Thanks for joining us.
No, I couldn't wait. When you guys hit me up in my DMs, and did you hit me up or did I hit you up? But I think
you hit us up, but it was a great date. It was good.
We met in the middle, and I was just like, girls, I would love to, jump on board your podcast, talk about messy, embarrassing moments and what led me to where I am today.
Yes.
If it makes you feel any better, Hayley, we have a library full of shame stories. We will never run out of content, but we are going to throw you straight in the deep end, and we're going to hear from you with your shame story.
You're going to have shame on your name. Shame on your name. You're gonna figure it out.
Like you girls, like everyone, there's so many to rattle off. But I think like one of my worst ones, or my most, I suppose, severe. I don't know. They always involve a guy a lot of the time. The ex or the boyfriend, or you've got that thing in the back of your head that just won't go to sleep, and then you get on the piss and it just comes out, and it's just full on. So anyway, long story short, I'll try and keep it short, but I love a yarn. He lived in a really affluent area, Brighton, in Melbourne. And if you girls know Brighton, like the houses, they're massive. Like they're $1 million houses. They've got tennis courts out the front. And he wasn't answering his phone. So I tried to scale the fence to get in to his house just so he'd listen to what I had to say. And it went something like this. Through the intercom, it was like, "Excuse me, miss, excuse me, can you please get down from our front door?" And I was like, "I just want to see," I won't say his name. I'm like, "Just want to see him," and I was crying, and I'd like lost my keys, and I think I had a taxi waiting out the front. And it was a disaster. Like, but there's so many that I off, to be honest with you, like, you know, falling asleep in the back of taxis and having, like, you know, from one spectrum to the other, there's funny ones, there's violent ones that, like, you know, where I wasn't proud of the actions that I took because, you know, I was so fueled by booze, as well as drugs and other things. And then there's, you know, those ones where you sit and eat Macca's crying in your bedroom.
On the floor.
Yeah. Or sitting in the shower like, "Oh, my life."
Yeah.
Yep. We can relate.
Classic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure we can all relate. Probably not the Brighton mansion situation, but I'm sure we've all tried to scale a wall or get in and make someone hear our story. So winding it back, Hayley, can you tell us about when you first started drinking alcohol? I'd really love to know what it is actually. And what was your relationship with, like, how did it evolve? What did it look like?
Yeah, so I actually remember the first time that I ever asked my parents to take alcohol to a party. Grew up in quite a conservative household, believe it or not. I went to like an all girls high school, and I remember, you know, the cool mum of the group was having a party, and, you know, she'd said to all the other mums, like, the girls can bring, you know, 2 or 3 cans, like they're in a house. And my mum was just like, "Get fucked." She's not bringing alcohol. And I suppose that little like moment like kind of made me rebel a little bit more and just be like, well, if everyone else is doing it, like, I'm doing it too. And I was so sick, so violently ill at this girl's party, and I just didn't have the three, what were they, UDLs or something.
Red Bears? Remember Red Bears?
they're another, or Woodstocks or something.
Yes.
And I just drank, and I suppose in my family I didn't have a lot of good drinking role models. I don't know if drinking is good per se, like, you know, how do I say this? So my parents didn't drink at home at all. Like, they weren't like your Friday night winos, or they were just like your middle-class family that didn't drink. So I never really got shown how to drink alcohol in a respectful manner. So my learning of alcohol was off my peers. And when you're learning off your peers, it's not the best fucking way to learn.
Because everyone's trying to be a hero.
And, you know, it was just from then, I think that it very quickly spiraled from one thing to another, and it became like a weekend thing that we'd all look forward to, like, let's go out and get smashed, let's get pierced. And it wasn't even going out and getting smashed because a lot of the parents didn't know, so it'd be like meeting at parks or that kind of thing. And then as we got older, I did hairdressing, dropped out of school at 17, and the hairdressing industry obviously has Thursday, Friday night wines. And I found myself getting pissed with the girls out the back and then trying to shampoo hair. It's just, yeah, it evolved, and it evolved really quickly.
How old were you, Hayley, when you had that first drink at the party?
So I was in year 10. So 16 years old, 15, probably between 15 to 16 years old. I'd probably say coming on to 16.
Yeah. It seems to be that age, doesn't it, I reckon?
Yeah.
14, 15, 16.
It's that age group as well where the hormones are going through you. You're not quite a kid, you're not quite a woman, and you're like, you want to test the waters a little bit because you're trying to break free of that childhood image as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Can totally relate to that. Hayley, you openly talk about your drug addiction, your ice addiction, of addiction of 10 years. Firstly, congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, for being in recovery. I think the stats they sit around, I think, 4% for ice addiction in terms of recovery, which is
wow.
tiny. So you're one of that 4%. Congratulations. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us and our listeners how the heck you got over your addiction, what tools you used and what resources you used?
So I have to say something, you know, foremost on that I did relapse. I think it's really important for people to know that it's not a switch that just generally with most addicts, whether it's alcohol, sex addiction, or drugs, that it's not something that you just go, I'm going to quit. And it's going to be a perfect road, because if you have someone that you love or you're supporting someone and you think it's going to work like that, I personally think that you're setting someone up for failure. So I did relapse, but what ended up happening is the gaps between using became bigger and bigger, and to the point where I started using and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is not good for my head. It's not good for my person. I had someone that was really, really close to me in my family. I'd probably call him like a brother. You know, when you grow up and you've got those auntie and uncle figures that you call, you know, your Auntie Sharon or whatever you call, but they're family friends, you know. Their son basically lived at our house and struggled with a few things in his life. And I called him a brother for the biggest part of my life. And a little bit of a trigger warning here, but he ended up committing suicide. And I don't want to say that was a catalyst, because there were a few things that were going on in my life around that time as well. I was, you know, about 17 years old when I was dabbling, like in ice. I'd started, I'd smoked marijuana, from the alcohol to marijuana. It sounds like the typical bloody gateway story, doesn't it? Like, I started on this, and I went to this, and I went to this, and, you know, that's how it happens. There's an evolution to it. You just don't, you know, one day wake up and grab a pipe and start smoking, you know, amphetamine. So basically my parents' relationship was breaking down as well. So I was going to quite an affluent girls' school in Melbourne, and I got pulled out of that, put into the college school in Frankston. There's a lot of big changes in my life that were happening, and I had become, you know, the party girl. I always loved a good time, but I had started disassociating from the real world. And what was actually going on in my life, because to sit still and to have that conversation with myself meant like admitting a lot of things were fucked up in my family and were fucked up in my life. And my parents, the people that were guiding me the most, weren't, you know, they were doing the best with what they had at the time. I suppose parents aren't educated into how to deal with a lot of things as well. But instead of, you know, asking those questions or getting help, or, you know, I was just a kid as well. Like, so I'd go out and I'd party and stuff, and I'd get high. And what started happening is the weekends became longer than the weeks. So instead of just partying on the Friday and the Saturday, it'd be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then it'd be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then Tuesday I'd sleep, and then wasn't waking up to, you know, I was in year 11, you know, and then mum was like, you know, what's going on? And then, you know, you start having, I suppose, like the mood swings and that kind of stuff as well, because you're tired and you're shitty and you're aggravated, and, you know, it blows out of control. So I know the question was one.
No, you're good.
No,
you're good.
Going,
keep going.
Yeah, I kind of put it all in one. But so yeah, so that's what happened. And so I was on ice for 10 years of my life. So I started on speed, and from where I was from in Frankston, it's kind of a low socioeconomic area, demographic, I suppose you'd say. Some kids had pills that they grew up with. We had speed. That was just the go-to drug of choice. And then I remember specifically being at Stereosonic, which was like a summer days music event kind of thing. And one of my peers, I saw her there, and, you know, we're in the toilets and we're doing bumps and we're doing this and that. And she came out and she's like, oh, don't try this, Hayley. And I was like, well, at that point, no one told me not to do anything. And if you told me no, it was like, go. Like, yeah. I'm like, why? I'm like, I don't have one of those addictive personalities. I'll try it once. Like, you know, and it wasn't something that just kicked off, like in being addictive as well. I definitely think that with all, look, actually, I can't talk on behalf of everyone. I can only relate it to my personal experiences. a lot of the times when I've been addicted to things, and I have had food issues in my life as well, with my personal training in my gym, sometimes I get so focused on it. It's when I'm trying to run away from sitting still with myself. And so anyway, I smoked the ice in the toilets, and then a lot more issues were coming about. I was falling out with my mum. I was angry at my family because my family was falling apart. And I just spent more time away from my house. I ended up getting kicked out of home when I was at the schoolies, believe it or not.
Never great timing, but yeah, that's shocking.
No, I was on the way back, and my mum had just had enough. She had a 17, nearly 18-year-old on her hands that was violent, that was disruptive. My mum was going through some mental illnesses as well, just different stuff. And she said, if you get on that plane, you're going to have nowhere to come back to. I can't handle you anymore. And that, going from such a nice structured upbringing to then having to come back and to start living in shared houses and having to look after myself and get on Centrelink because I had to figure out, okay, I've got to pay for myself now. It just blew out of control really quickly because I didn't have the life skills to be able to live by myself, and my headspace was really a mess, and there's a lot of shit in between then and now. But yeah, all I can say is that we got out of control quite quickly. Actually, no, you know what? Looking back on it, when I look back at it, the first couple of years I thought I was in control, that nothing was going on. But then the last couple of years, I knew I didn't want to do it anymore. I knew that I'd had enough. I had enough of the shit friends and the psychosomatic bullshit that was going on, and the narcissistic behaviour and just little things, but I felt like to do something new was such a big, scary change as well that, did I have the guts to do it? And then I suppose, so going from that to how did I recover, it was when bodybuilding first became popular, bikini competitions, now every girl jumps on stage and gets pretty photos and twirls around and does whatever, and well done to them, that's the thing. But back in the day, probably 6 years ago, whatever it was just becoming a thing. And I was like, fuck, I'm like, these guys are impressive. I'm like, they've got glutes as big as my head. And, I was probably 58 kilos. And just to give you some perspective on this, I weigh 84 kilos now.
Yeah, so, right.
So you were shelling yourself, really, Hayley?
Yeah, I was, because I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I was emancipated.
My God.
I wasn't in a healthy spot, and I started going on this bodybuilding forum and looking at these girls, and I was like, I reckon I could do that. I reckon I could do that. And it was over a 6-month period, and then there was this lady called Taylor Smith. She's a WBFF pro. And I don't know why this woman just came into my life. And look, many people had tried to do what she'd done before. Heaps of people, were passing me olive branches, whatever the saying is.
Olive branches.
Olive branches, olive oil, whatever it is.
Just give me all the olives.
Just pass the olives.
I'll have them all. And I don't know, I am a firm believer that sometimes it just takes someone different, saying it different, with a different amount of energy for you to go, okay, maybe I can. And I was part of this bodybuilding forum, and she just took a liking to me. She's like, you're different. And I'm like, different? I'm fucking a crack addict. I remember sitting there thinking this woman's got no idea. I was in a house in Frankston North. This has been so after I moved out of my mum's house, I was in 17 houses or something.
Wow.
A really short time, living with all sorts of characters and, couch surfing in between and hotels. And I remember sitting around thinking, fuck, I'm speaking to this woman on a mattress in the floor. I've just used my last money, probably going to go to Coles and steal food later. That's the position that I was in, and that's what I was doing. That's the truth. That's exactly how it is. And I opened up to her, and I think because she was so indifferent to, she wasn't a loved one. She wasn't someone that knew me. She was just a random person that was just okay, cool. And I'm like, yeah, but, and she's like, but what? what are you going to do? And I was like, sorry. And she's like, so what are you going to do to like change this? Like, you know, and I'm like, yeah, but I've always grown up in Frankston. And she's like, but you've got nothing good there. Like, what are you holding on to? What are you scared of getting better? Like, you know, and she just kept asking me that. And then I remember like probably 2 weeks later from this conversation, I was sitting there and I was trying to get on drugs. I spent my last money. I was going to go get food again, and no one would answer their phone. No one would answer their phone. So I had a lot of noise around me, a lot of people, but I needed a friend. My family weren't answering their phone at that time. My dad had totally said, no, we're not contacting you. I had no one in my life. No one was answering their phone. I just broke down. I think I just had a mental breakdown, and I was like, you know, so I got on the internet, I was speaking to this woman, and she's like, why don't you move to Queensland? And I was like, what? And she's like, move up here. I said, like, I probably have like $200 in the bank, like if that, and that isn't even in the bank yet. That's coming, and I've already spent it. I owe some guy down the road the money, you know? And she's like, well, look, I usually wouldn't do this, but she's like, you can move in with me.
Oh, wow. Unreal. What a woman.
Yeah, and it's like, it makes me tear up now, but we had a falling out. Like, anyway, that's another story. But anyway, but the lady, this was the catalyst of me kind of changing. Someone that didn't know me, someone that saw someone so vulnerable, so shook, had reached her hand out, and I was like, I remember calling my dad, and he finally answered, and he's like, I'd only ever call my dad when I needed help or when I needed money, and he'd always be like, what do you want, like, kind of thing. You know, and now my dad's my best friend. Like, things have changed so much. Like, he's my number one, you know, like, and he couldn't be prouder. But I ended up moving to Benoa in Queensland, jumped on a plane. Dad's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you've said some outlandish stuff in your time. So moving in with who? Some woman? And I'm like, he's like, you know, he's kind of concerned, but at the same time he's thinking, God, you know, this is like the least of severity from what you've been through over, you know, the last couple of years kind of thing. And I moved up, and I remember getting off the plane and the levels of anxiety that were going, because it was like probably the first like 24 hours that I hadn't touched drugs. I packed up everything that I'd owned into like, and there wasn't much. Like, I think I got a photo. I'll send you girls a photo. Like, it was just like a, you know, country road duffel bags, like
yeah.
that. And like, I think I even took it on the plane. Like, I didn't have enough. Like, I had probably 8 kilos or something of possessions, you know. And I'm meeting this woman and her partner for the first time, and you know, they're bodybuilders. And in my head, I'm going ticking and ticking and ticking and ticking. Oh my god! And I had severe social anxiety at this time, because obviously prolonged drug abuse doesn't do wonders for your noggin.
Not ideal.
No, and so yeah, I met her, and they were super lovely, and she'd set up a room for me, and then basically the next day, I hadn't probably slept for ages, and I got to Queensland, it was like 30 degrees. I'm thinking, what am I doing? And these people are fit, like they're fit as. Yeah. And she wakes me up at like some ungodly hour, like 5:30 in the morning, which I wake up now at that time every day, which I think is funny. But she's like, all right, we're going to gym. And I was just like, what? Like, and I was so frail. My legs were like as big as my arms are now. I remember getting to gym and using 2 kilo dumbbells, and I couldn't get 2 kilos up. Like, my muscles were so depleted, and I just had anything. And so, yeah, it wasn't the long story short, but that's kind of the story to what like helped change me. And I did end up relapsing. So I stayed in Queensland for a while, came back to Melbourne, moved back to the area that I grew up in. Stupid decision. And then slowly over the next couple of years, I moved further and further and further away from where I grew up. The last house that I had in Melbourne was in Port Melbourne. I grew up in Langwarrin and Frankston, and it was just far enough to not be able to get in the car and drive because I'm too lazy to go.
Uber Eats don't do that sort of thing, do they?
No. Oh, there's a story about even that with Uber drivers. And then I think, what starts happening is, I started to see like my strength increasing, and then obviously through strength, your mind increases. And then, I was starting to listening to podcasts and people's stories. And then, it's funny what happens when the universe pats you on the bum and goes, you're doing a good job.
Yep.
Like, synchronicities start happening. And I'm a massive believer in energy and like osmosis, the ripple effect now.
There you go. Yeah.
Because once you start opening up and doing things that serve you well, new people pop into your life that are meant to be there. And that's what happened. And it was this continuous evolution. And, it was fucking hard. Like, I'm saying it pretty like easy breezy and having a giggle with you, but it was tough. Like, I was in tears a lot of the time. I felt like I had no friends. I was isolated, but I wouldn't take any of it back. Yeah. Because it's honestly made me the person that I am today. Like, I'm very empathetic for all kinds of people. I'm non-judgmental, and it's made me really, really bloody resilient.
Yes, it really has. And talking about those people that, or the opportunities that you created for yourself, you had a crack at MAFS. You were a beautiful, blushing bride in 2020 on MAFS.
I did.
Yes, which was super, super brave. I reckon that's super courageous. Thank you. That's amazing. And it was incredibly entertaining. Can I say? Entertaining. So let's talk about the booze on set and what sort of role did that play with the booze on set as well?
Yeah, look, I'm just going to throw them straight under the bus because I think they lacked their duty of care, to be quite honest with you. And I think a lot of these... I've got to stop saying I think when I know. I'm like, it's a little bit softer. It's like using lol at the end of a sentence. They drop their duty of care. There's long hours. It's like having someone work, in 30-degree heat, minimal food, and then loading them up on booze at the end of the day. What do you reckon's going to happen? Like, they're going to get buck wild. Shit's going to throw off. They're really dragging out. Like, a lot of the times there wasn't a lot of food. I remember my first day on set, I got the kids 75 gram. And I know it was 75 grams because I put it in my fitness pal. And I was thinking, I've worked out to get on this shot. I'm going to lose all my muscles.
Oh, wow.
You need to feed me more. Gave me like a thing of popcorn and, there was a lot of alcohol on set, those big dinners and across the board. Even now, like, I'm friends with a lot of people that have been on various different shows across different production companies, and it's pretty much the same across the board. They razzle you up with the grog. Basically, they put you in a room. So when I filmed, it was actually coming into to the reunion party, and that was summer. And so you'd get in there and they'd have the fireplace cranked up, right? And they do this type of stuff on purpose. So it's a really hot room. You're sweating profusely. They're giving you so much alcohol. Like,
what's going to happen?
A kid could work out what's going to happen. Like, it's an accident waiting to happen, and it's a messy one at that. And then, then they, snip and grab bits from different exchanges and,
And long hours as well, Hayley, like they're kind of
really long. So you sign a contract. I can't remember the exact hours, but like, let's just say to be lenient that they can give you a 5-hour turnaround time. I'm pretty sure it's less than that, maybe 4.5 hours or something, 4 hours. But from doing a 14-hour day to going to bed, they only have to give you, just say, a 5-hour.
Oh, that's so crazy.
After the first week, you're scattered. Like, you are just like this, and like your phone off you so you can't see your family. So the dinner parties, they finish filming at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and then you might be out filming at like, 8 a.m. in the morning.
Wow. Oh, no wonder everyone's flying off the handle. Like, it's intense. It's intense.
Yeah. I ended up getting post-traumatic stress after it, like, diagnosed from a doctor. And all my anxiety issues came back, and it wasn't healthy. And then because I had trained so hard prior to going on the show, and then I wasn't able to train, I wasn't able to eat healthy, I was drinking more, obviously. Those habits then flowed on into my life after the show. So I was using the wine as a coping mechanism, and then I found myself like using cocaine again. And like, I've never had an issue with cocaine, and anyone that's listening to this, they're like, oh, you're not a recovered addict, whatever. It wasn't my thing, right? Like, anyone that's you're blind if you don't think recreational drugs are a part of the society that we live in. They are. They are. They're more common. It's more easier to get cocaine at 10 o'clock at night than it is to get alcohol sometimes. Like, that's it. So I started dabbling in wine and then dabbling in drugs again. And I was just like, because I had those issues that I hadn't dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're using that as a bit of a coping mechanism as well, given, you were in the public eye.
Yeah, so because we finished filming 5 months before it goes to air, so you get off this show and you've got no one to talk to.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. No one who understands what you've just been through.
No. Or like your family, like, yeah, we get it. And you're like,
and then the other thing is you have to relive everything 5 months later.
Yeah. And you relive it from the eyes of someone else's perspective, from their editing and so forth.
Yeah.
And then, that goes on for another 3 months. And then the next show isn't on for like another 6 months. So then, you got public just being, and the public can be fucking cruel. Like, there's some really bad people out there and, keyboard warriors and that kind of thing. And, that are just judging you merely on what they've seen or what they think.
And the media obviously play into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a multi-million-dollar business at the end of the day. They don't give a stuff about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they manipulate it how they want.
Yeah, like I remember like going, I'm going to say that I was an ISA, and they're like, you sure you want to like say it? And then it's like they had this storyboard, like girl from Frankston, bit of a badass, toughie. And I'm like, I'm actually like pretty soft. Like, I know I know I'm loud, but I'm a bit of a sook, like, and I'm like, you know what I mean? They tried to like pigeonhole me in this character that was so far removed. And then I remember like probably a year after it filmed, I had all these messages from all these women and they were like, we're just so sorry. And I was like, what? And they're like, we're so sorry because like we've been following you on Instagram now and like, you do like a lot of good shit. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you don't know me. Like,
yeah.
And like, they're like, we wish we'd stuck up for you. And I was just like, you know what? Everything comes out in the wash eventually. Yeah. And that's what happened.
And you've obviously now got your platform that people can see the real you, Hayley. Like, they go to Instagram, they see you every day on your stories. And you've recently just announced on your stories that you have given up alcohol.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, have you had bouts of sobriety or time off the booze before, or is this your first real crack? Oh, it's your first crack.
Yay!
Oh. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. So it's I was actually having this conversation with my friend Sammy last night, who I've known since I was 18. And I said to him, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, when was and I'm like, I actually don't think since I've been 16, I've had like a month, 4 weeks that I haven't drank. I'm 35 this year.
That's amazing, mate. Congratulations. So tell us then, what was the catalyst? What was the turning point? When did you decide that's it? I've had enough? Because it was when was your last drink, did you say?
So yesterday I was 31 days.
Yeah. That's amazing. So what led you to ditching the gas?
Yes, I'm only new to this, obviously, but last year there was a lot of shit that I wanted to get done. I'm at a point in my life, I don't want to gloat or anything, but like I'm successful with what I do. The money's coming in, so I've got a lot of spare time. So I was going out for long lunches, and when you go out for long lunches, you get pissed, and then you go to like somewhere else and get food. And I had a lot of shit I wanted to get done last year. Like I wanted to bringing out a clothing company. I wanted to do like life coaching around like my addiction. I had women messaging me going, you've changed your life, but then at the same time thinking, fuck, like I'm still drinking and like, you know what I mean? Like I know that if I get rid of like these little like factors in my life, I could be even better and help so many more people. And I didn't get anything done last year. I didn't get anything done. I got stuff done. Like I bought my first house, which was great. Like I got, thank you. I got stuff done, but my anxiety had come back bad to the point where I was second guessing what I was saying and thinking, having conversations in my head before I would speak to the person, like because I was so socially awkward without alcohol, because I had based all my experiences over the last 12 months, even like sleeping with someone. Like, so when you go on a date, often you go out for dinner and what do? You have a couple of bevies.
Yep.
And we've all bloody been there. Like you go back to old mate's house and you're drunk. Right. And I'm just like, I don't even think like I've had, like, obviously for work we're sober, but I don't think I've had like all these things, all these experiences just had alcohol. So when I had to do normal life and I had to do it sober, I was like a bloody deer in the headlights. I was like, I can't do this. And then I had to learn how to like relive. So I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm like, I spent New Year's Eve, I swear heaps, you know that.
Yeah, we're right for it.
We're good for it.
So I spent New Year's Eve at home, was in bed by 8:30, ended up getting the Rona the next day.
So it went rife at New Year's, didn't it?
Yeah, and ended up in lockdown. But I, on New Year's, wrote like a list of all the stuff that I wanted to do. And girls, can I just tell you something? Oh, I want to get it. No, I'm going to get something.
Go get it. Yeah,
Okay,
get it.
Okay, go.
So, just so you can see, I bought this. I got this sent from Kmart on, I hope you can't see all the writing, but this, like a little diary thing.
Oh, so good.
Love that.
But so what I did like 2 days after New Year's is I was like, I'm going to start writing things that I need to get done in the day, but not just like medial tasks. Like, you know, I want to put more into my education, this, that, and the other, whatever it might be. I have smashed out more shit, more stuff. My clothing line is going to launch in 3 weeks, right? Yeah.
So good. What's it called? Can you give us a scoop?
It's called Capital H.
Like it.
Love that.
Yeah, it's
So
called Capital
good.
H. And the T-shirts and the prints, but I've done more work on myself as a person and my businesses and like it just excites me because I feel like I was like when I was like, so everyone used to say when I was a kid, like, wow, she's got so much energy. They still say it now, right? But then I like kind of waver off or whatever. But I feel like I was like before the drugs, before anything, I'm just like this, I'm on a mission, I'm getting shit done, I'm happy. And you know what? I look at myself in the mirror like yesterday and I nearly started crying. I'm like, you know what? You're doing it. Like, you look so beautiful. Like, yeah, like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm looking at me and like my skin's good and my eyes look like brighter. I feel amazing. And I'm such a nicer person. Like, I'm always nice, but I find myself just like talking to strangers and I'm just like, woo, like.
Do you know, everything you've listed, Maso and I have experienced, and that was one of the things I noticed is I was more patient with people.
You weren't so rude.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
It's exactly the same as me. Like, and it's just, I don't know, my life is like, I put a little post up the other day being like, woo, a month. And I'm like, I just really cannot wait to see who the Hayley is that is standing at the end of 12 months. Like, if this is what I've done in 30 days, like, I could build Rome in a year. Like, like
unstoppable.
Yeah.
Unstoppable. Well done.
You could actually, Mason and I were saying she just seems so up and about. Like, you are so up and about with life. It just oozes, and you will find that true self. We've spoken to, you know, several people and they always say, I've found my true self. Like, I'm the true person I am because I'm not drinking. But tell us, Hayley, have you had to use any tools or resources in these early days of sobriety, like any podcast, books, you know, you're talking to people, what's helped you so far?
So with the alcohol?
Yeah, with booze.
Yeah, so what I've done is I've gone back to what I know, and that's like leaning on the past addictions with the ice kind of thing. And I've learned how to say no again. And saying no does not come natural for a lot of people because we're saying yes to not necessarily fulfill ourselves, to fulfill, oh, you want to be part of the clique or you want to be part of the group. And is it serving you? No. Like, so I've started saying no. Like, I went out with my girlfriends yesterday, had a great day for Australia Day. They were getting smashed. Like, they were blind, like, you know, and that was fine for them. And then they came back to mine, like, come on, come to the party. I'm like, no, I got shit to do tomorrow. Like, and I'm loving marking that list off. You know what I mean? And I've woken up today and I would have cancelled on you guys if I had gone out last night. I wouldn't have gone to gym. I wouldn't have got my meals in. So I'm journaling.
Yeah,
which I
cool.
We love journaling. Yeah.
So I do this method called WOH, which is WOH, and it's looking at the day and what you did well, where the opportunity lies, and how you're going to fix the opportunity the day after.
Oh, how good's that? Whoa.
Is that something you made up, Hayley, or is it a book you've like a
No, so I used to be a sales teacher. I used to teach sales when I used to do like reviews or my sales stuff. That's what I used to do. So I've started doing it on myself and taking inventory on my day and just sitting there and thinking like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, you had a sick day, but what can you do better tomorrow? And it's just like stuff like that and connecting. Like I make sure like I call a family member or I call a friend in Melbourne every day, and they're just like my biggest hype people. They're like, you know, it's so good.
Oh, you can just this is infectious. Yeah, so much woo. So on that, just carrying on, you did talk about the benefits that you had there: your clear eyes, your skin, your energy, clarity. Can you tell us other benefits that you experienced as well on top of all of those?
Yeah, my friendship circle has got smaller quickly, really quickly.
Interesting.
Really, really quickly. But they were like the acquaintances, you know, they weren't solid friends anyway. And I think I knew that. But the friends that I've got have got fucking stronger. Like, and they are, and I know it's only been 30 days, but when you said it before, I'm helping them, like, and I'm sitting there and I don't know, I just like, I'm really content with the person that I'm looking at in the mirror. And
that's a hashtag.
Yeah,
that's quote of the day. That's quote of the day.
Yeah, I'm just like, and it's literally like I'm literally looking in the mirror in the morning and I'm like, I just keep looking at my eyes and just being like, I don't need this. Like, what the fuck was I doing for so long? Like, I don't need it. It wasn't serving me. Like, you know, these people that are around me were around me for the wrong reasons. Like, you know, they party with you on the weekend and you want to go get a cup of coffee during the week and no one would be around.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not mates.
Yeah. I've got to say, I was so impressed, Hayley, that you went to an Australia Day party yesterday, especially like those early days of sobriety, because a lot of things, especially living on the Gold Coast, it's party central, and a lot of things would be triggering up there. Like, how have you been triggered, and how do you think you'll work through those triggers? Because we still get triggered. Like, if I'm at a winery, I'm triggered. I'm getting a bit wobbly, but I'm on track. I'm 7 months sober. Maso's
6.
6.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
So there's still
Give or
triggers.
take.
So have you been triggered so far? And how have you worked through that?
I wouldn't say triggered, but my new favourite drink is sugar-free Mothers.
Yes, you said that yesterday on your little story.
So yesterday, and because I was riding the jet ski yesterday, it didn't even cross my mind to be on the water with that many people and to drink. Like, I wouldn't be driving anyway.
Yep.
And you know what? Like, I'd like to tell you that something has triggered me just because, but like, I'm so stoked with the results at the moment that I'm just like, I'm happy. Like, I'm in bed by 8:30 going, come on, new day, what can we get done?
Yes. I do the same thing. I'm excited to go to bed because I can't wait to start the new day, fresh as a button.
And how good a feeling is that? Like, you know, that's what we should all be doing, not dreading waking up and doing something that you hate and doing it half-assed because, you know, your clarity is all fogged and, you know, you don't feel grounded because you've got, I call them the heebie-jeebies, but, you know, the next day when you're rattled a little bit and you're not grounded. So I'm like, no real triggers. I'm going good.
She's coasting well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your current job at the moment, you're in the adult industry. Is that how we refer to it? Yeah, which is so amazing. I'd really love to hear about how you got into that. But also, I think Breeza and I understand that industry is safe and well controlled. Mm-hmm. There is a misconception that it is sort of sex, drugs, and alcohol, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Can you tell us? Can you delve into that for us?
Yeah, so there's a massive stigma around the adult industry. So I make porn for a living. Let's just say it for what it is. I make porn for a living. That's what I do.
Let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
Go on. So I do porn for a living, and it's a massive misconception that obviously the adult industry is fueled by, you know, drugs, sex, rock and roll, this kind of stuff, obviously sex. But
you hope so.
But the drugs and the alcohol is kind of non-existent. And I remember the first time that I filmed a scene, I'd actually got drunk because I thought that was the only way that I could do what I was going to be doing, in front of it was a studio kind of set, you know. And I went to do my next scene and the girls were so professional. There's paperwork being done, and it's fair to say that on any other set or scene that I've done since my first one, there's been no alcohol or drugs. It's not like that. A lot of the girls, I don't want to say feminists, but they have big standpoints, and they're fighting to be respected within their industry and to say that sex work is work. Yeah. That, you know what I mean? So these aren't people that are doing anything detrimental, and they're honestly some of the smartest and nicest people that I've ever met in my life. Like, you know, I was a finance broker for over 4.5 years, and I saw more drugs and more partying in the finance industry than I ever have in the adult industry.
Oh, amazing. What an incredible insight that is.
Yeah, it blows people's minds. Like, you know, and I get it all the time, oh, you know, you're used to this. And I'm just like, no, I'm not.
So how did you get into it? How did you get into it in the first place?
Yeah, so as I said, I was a finance broker. I had a really good job, went on MAFS. They really portrayed me well. I was really good at what I was doing, got off the show, and it was really hard to then go back into my industry and to speak to clients and get them to take me seriously after the show had been on TV. Obviously, spending the biggest part of my life on drugs, I was unskilled as well. I had a basic education, but I probably had a bigger street, you know, I was more street smart than I was academic. Mm-hmm. And then COVID happened in Melbourne, and I had got a job at a novated leasing company. No one is getting financed during COVID, let's face it. no one in Melbourne anyway. So, whoa. Hey, guys.
I love that. That's staying.
Hi. So no one is getting financing. Let me just balance this. I'm balancing my phone.
For our listeners, Hayley's phone just fell over.
Yeah, and because I had it balancing against a candle, and it's actually sitting against a photo frame. There's a ring light in the back. I've got a whole setup going on here. No one was getting finance, and Mark Orville, who is Angry Dad, I don't know if you guys know him. Yeah, he's from Melbourne.
Yes.
He's kind of taken me under his wing, like when I started, like, you know, when my Instagram was blowing up, being like, you know, watch out for this, prepare yourself for that, like, because his kids have been through exactly the same thing. I'd never met him, and I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? I'm like, I've got a house that I got paid for, I've got a car. MAFS basically sent me broke, to be honest with you. I had like $15,000 savings, ended up using it all. You got to do your own hair, makeup, and then you got to live afterwards, and, you know, you've still got to pay for things. They're paying you $100 a day for filming. Anyway, it's another story. So I was spending more money than I was making. And he said, like, have you ever thought about doing OnlyFans? Not because he was being a perv or anything like that, but his son's friend's girlfriends did it. Okay. And he saw the money they were making, $500,000, in 6 months, and just crazy, crazy, crazy numbers. And I laughed. I was like, what? I was like, no. I was like, I can't do this. And so I was sitting there, and I was drunk.
Where all good bad decisions are made.
Yeah. And so I made an OnlyFans page, but with nothing on it. And then I had some like bikini photos because I'd got shredded to go on MAFS. And I was like, maybe I'll put them up. And then I put something on my Instagram, and I was like, I'm joining OnlyFans. I think I was like one of the real first like influencers, not influencers, but maybe reality people to kind of like go into it fully, like at this point. And it went crazy. I woke up like a couple of days after that, 3 days had passed. Not that I woke up a couple of days after that.
Really exhausted.
So a couple of days after that, and the money that was coming in, and I was just like, and I still to this day haven't had the discussion with my dad. Knows what I do, but he doesn't know. Like, he doesn't want to have that discussion. Like, he's not stupid, but we've never actually discussed that I do porn for a living. But I remember, I did a TV show called Mirror Mirror.
That was great. That was amazing, that show.
Cool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, Todd Sampson's an absolute genius. Like the man is just such a good interviewer. And, you know, I called Josie, my stepmom, beforehand, and I'm like, Josie, I just got to ask you something. She's like, what? I said, does Dad know that I do porn? and she's like, yes, Hayley. She goes, look, he's not exactly wrapped, but he's proud of you nonetheless. And so I started doing it, and it just it went from like bikini photos to stuff, and then obviously the money started plateauing out, and I was just like, you know what, if I'm going to do it, this isn't a test run, this game called life, and we are very fortunate to be able to recreate ourselves 1,000 times if we want to. I'm not stuck to one identity, and that's something that I've learned through my sobriety as well. And even when I was an ice addict, it took me a really long time to learn that I don't have to be defined as an addict.
Yeah.
Or defined as that messy bitch, or defined as that terror, or defined as this. Like, there are 1,000 different women within this vessel, right? Each one playing its part. I'm going to get my money from theirs. Then I'm going to use that then to do other things. You know what I mean? So that's how it all started. I've never actually been happier. For the first time, you know, I turned 35 in August, and the last 2 years I've actually been able to live a life, like, you know, just like doing small things, like jumping in my car. I remember when I got to Queensland, I was like, I'm so happy. Like, I'm not going to work. And, you know, I'm that type of person that will chase sunsets and just be like, it's so beautiful. You know, but just being able to have, be able to have freedom. Like, it's created financial freedom for me, which is awesome. It's also allowed me to help my family, which is really great, and my extended family, which is my friends. As I said, I bought my first house, and I'm just really happy that drugs are no longer playing a part. And now that I've got this deposit on this house that's getting built as well, I'm not going to be pissing money up the wall. It's going to be going on this house that I'm going to have equity in that I can do other stuff with, and that excites me.
God, you're an absolute go-getter. Unreal.
Absolutely. And now that you're in this sober space, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. Not sure if you're aware, there's this whole like swell of alcohol-free drinks that are hit.
I know. I saw you girls drinking them.
Yeah. So have you like dipped your toe in the water? I saw you were out for lunch, I think the other day, and you had a mineral water. And I was like, oh, I wonder if Hayley's had some alcohol-free drinks. Is that something that you think you could you could try, or because it can be triggering for some people? It can trigger them.
And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm just like, I'm going to be honest with you. I know, like, you girls love them, and you know, you've got some great Budddies there, and you know, I've got a lot of girlfriends that drink the alcohol-free drinks, and they love them too. I just don't see the point, because my thing was like, I'd much prefer to have like Cooler cordial or Coke Zero, which I love, or an energy drink, or a black coffee. Like, that's what I'd have a coffee with someone. I suppose, like, I haven't been, like, I've been out a couple of times, but I haven't like been to a wedding. Like, I think I don't see the point, because I've always just drank to get pissed.
Yep. And so many people say that. But can I say one thing? The biggest thing for me is being included. So, for example, if you're cheersing someone at a party, you can still cheers with your alcohol-free champagne. That's the biggest thing for me. Or, you know, you come home from work and have a cold beer, but it's an alcohol-free beer. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And I totally get what you girls are saying as well. Like, and that's the beauty of like having, you know, an open conversation. You know, that's just where you guys are at. But I'd like to get to the point where like I can like talk, I don't know, like I like changing people's perception of things as well. So I'd like to get to the point where it's okay to like, where people don't question other people, like for having like a glass of water or having a Coke. Like, why does it even have to be a fucking discussion? You're cheersing. Like, it's the happiness behind it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if I will double in them. Like, I'll probably give them a try. Like, I'm sure I'd like, if you girls like send me a bottle of yours, like I'll try it, but I just don't, and it's just extra calories.
Yeah. Like, I was similar to you too, leading up to that too. I remember it was Hubble actually. She busted out a bottle of non-alcoholic gin like a few years ago when she was pregnant actually, and she was like, "You should try something." In my head, I'm like, "What's the point?" Like, I didn't get it. But then fast forward, a couple of years later, I'm like, oh, this is the best stuff ever. However, the same as you, what's the point? It's the whole point of getting boozy. But I was also I always thought I would be a bit triggered by drinking alcohol-free drinks. So it's been an interesting transition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it might come up on my journey. Who knows?
Yes.
But a lot of people have said since I've been sober on my Instagram, my followers, about the alcohol-free gin. It's really big, the gin.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, have you tried the gin? The gin. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Try the gin. Try the gin.
Yeah.
Gin pushes.
Yeah. Basically.
You have honestly been such a delight.
Thank you.
Hayley. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to ask you a random question in a minute, but I just wanted to quickly just say thanks for sharing your discussion about addiction. And also we're so sorry about, was it your cousin that passed as well? So we just wanted to acknowledge that as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you guys have been a breeze to talk to too.
We've got a couple more things before we wrap up. It was just a little teaser before the so I ask a little random question.
Yes.
It's just a very basic one, and because you're in the fitness industry, what are you loving more, deadlifts or squats?
Me, I don't do either.
What's your favourite exercise? What's your favourite?
I do hip thrusts to grow my bums.
Oh, there you go.
They're good for bums. Yeah, I heard they're good for bums.
They are. They're very good.
Yeah. And how much would you be putting on each side?
Yeah.
I can do about 150 kilos.
Wow. All right. That's do that. Well done.
That's huge. That's huge.
Takes regret, you can't forget. Cellular memory deficit. Takes regret, you can't forget.
Oh my God. It was like, there's so many, but like, let's talk about social media, because like, it's not so much text regret, but it's story regret. Especially if you've got like 60,000 followers.
Oh, okay.
It's like me getting drunk and then deciding to and then the next day I wake up and like I blogged all about what was going on in the night. I remember when the last episode of MAFS was on, I decided to do a review, and like I had like 2 bottles of wine. I'm like, and then I got to bed and I woke up the next day and I was like, oh my God. And I'm just like, delete. And then you get like all the Karens. And I hate saying that, 'cause there's probably some gorgeous lady called Karen that's listening to this. You're sitting in the back row and she's like, oh, we saw them before you deleted them. We've got screenshots. And I was like,
It's the whole story thing, because it is going to such a wide audience. Like, is there just that wake up and you go, oh shit, because you don't remember? Like I would often black out when I was drinking.
Yes, same with me.
Did you have that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you pick up your phone and you see at the top like 20 little lines, and you're like, oh my God, and you start like flicking through them like this just to see glimpses of around, and you delete. It's like no reception. You're like, get back online.
But at the time when you're doing it, like, this is really good. Like, you're really in the moment. Like,
Every single person that I hang around, and they'll tell you this, goes, Hayley, put your phone away. Do not get on your phone. Hales, put your phone down. I'm like, no, like, this is so funny.
Trying to capture the moment. Yeah.
I always say, don't drink and scroll. It's never a good idea.
Don't drink and do anything. Sit still.
That's it. So where can people follow you, Hayley? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so Hayley Vernon. So Hayley Vernon, if you type it up, the blue tick one, just on Instagram. There, if they want to follow my journey, have a bit of a laugh. I don't take shit too seriously. I do take stuff seriously, but I like, as you girls can see, I've got big energy, a big heart, and I just say it how it is. And I think that's pretty refreshing in a society that we live in that is, run by filtered images and filtered perceptions. If you want to see the highs, the lows, the tears, the smiles, I'm the girl you should follow.
Yes, you are. God, you've been an absolute treat.
It's time for the recommendation of the week.
It's going to sound so corny, what I'm going to say. There's this little cute show called Anne with an E on Netflix. It's set in like the 1800s, but it's about this little orphan girl, and it follows her journey from like getting adopted to becoming like an adult and going to university and changing her life. There's something just so positive about it. She's got like this little disposition that's like always sees the good in things, and, you know, stuff always happens to her. But I basically binge watched it over a couple of days. It's great. It was a really good watch. Yeah, other than that, wake up and put your favourite song on and it'll put you in a good mood.
Love that. That's so good.
Yeah. Good. You have been brilliant today, Hayley. And
Thank you.
So generous with your time. So
Thank you.
Can't thank you enough. And there's been some really important messages in there. And I think you're also a bit of a poster girl for people who are struggling either with drug addiction or, they know that alcohol is not serving them.
And look, my door's always open as well. I say that to all my followers. Look, I can't give medical advice or anything like that, but if people want to reach out or, don't have an avenue or someone to talk to, they're more than welcome to hit me up on Instagram and have a chat. I'm one of those people. So, yeah.
Oh, you're an absolute hoot. Thank you so much. That's incredibly generous for you to offer that out to all our listeners.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, girl.
This podcast is proudly produced by our audio engineer, music extraordinaire, Eric Ladd.
We love you, Eric.